What's up, guys? Welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Boba Talk Pandemic Style. And today we'll be joined by Simone Swift. She's a veteran dancer in San Diego. I met her on Culture Shock, so just waiting for her to pop in. Yeah, she was supposed to be with me on Friday, but she kind of felt a little bit under the weather, so we're gonna hang out and talk today. A lot of stuff happened this past week, We were kind of reviewing the close of Culture Shock Dance Center on Friday. Arnell joined us, to talk about that. And maybe just going forward, just partnering with other businesses that are not just dance. So, all right, just waiting for a few minutes. Hi, Angel. Let me make sure Simone is on her way. Just gonna invite her. Where are you at, Angel? Where are you watching me from? Are you at home? Just hang out. We're waiting for Simone and some more people to come in. Oh, you're in your car. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm at home. I was watching Mandalorian, the episode with Baby Yoda. I don't know if you watch that. Oh, yeah. Hi, Tracy. Just hang out, guys. I sent Simone a message, just waiting for her to pop in here. Where are you watching me from, Trace? Are you at home, or are you still in San Diego, or are you still teaching? Ah, there she is. Simone, so if you see the purple button at the bottom, it says request to be in my video, then yeah, if you press it, then you'll pop in the screen. Ah. Nice, Tracy. I see that you're also at home. Hello, Tony. What's up? Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, so just waiting for Simone. There she is. Okay, here we go. She should pop in any moment now. Just hang out, guys. There you are.
Hi.
Hello. Hello, Miss Thing. Okay. Can you hear me?
Wait. Oh, you got me?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Oh, okay, there we go. Like, hello.
Yeah. There might be a lag sometimes, but yeah.
That's okay.
Okay. Cool. So people are still slowly joining in, and they kind of slowly keep coming in as we talk. But yeah, so yeah, let's start off with I guess, your background. We'll get into culture shock stuff later, but just kind of let us know how did you start dancing?
Okay, well, I actually started dancing when I was 3, which is the funny part because I didn't like it then. I was just like, thrown into dance because my grandma wanted me to do it. She raised me. So I started doing it and I didn't like it. Fast forward to middle school, I went to SCPA. And I went there not knowing what I was going to do. I played the flute, sidebar, back then. So that was, I know, what? That was my way in, and then at the time I think I saw a dance concert and I was like, shit, I want to do that. Like, I just kind of like started to like it again, or I guess like it for the first time, I guess you could say. And it probably was, well, during that time I did ballet, jazz, tap. Yeah. I didn't start hip hop until I got into college. And it wasn't really until I think probably 2000 and maybe 6, I took a class at, there was a studio called Evoke, not Evoke, the dance studio in Carlsbad, but like Anthony Rodriguez and a couple other people used to teach there. I took a class with Anthony there for my first time ever, and I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. Like, all right. And then in high school, I met Nicole Aguas.
Oh, wow.
I was really good friends with Philip Pascua, Jeremy Aguas, Nico De Jesus. They all went to SUPA. And they were all on Future Shock or Culture Shock or something, you know, within that building. And they performed, God, we had like this competition at school. And I think it was Nicole and Philip, and they did Renegade Master for like one of their little like battle things. They didn't do the whole thing, but they kind of incorporated it. And I remember like, hey, Jonathan, I remember just like everyone, like just the vibe, you know? And I was like, oh shit. Like, and they were my friends too. So I was like happy that they won. And I think fast forward, so high school, that opened up my world to kind of what Culture Shock was, but I still hadn't been there yet, but I kind of, you know, heard about it. When I graduated, I danced at Grossmont with Mel, Melissa Dow, yeah. So that was kind of the beginning of the beginning. So once I started going there, my friends, I had a couple friends who were on Culture Shock already, or just other teams, 220, they danced at Studio 429, just depending on, you know, where they were. And I was just like, it just changed everything for me. Just being around it, being in the environment. Of course, I'm like, man, I've been doing tap ballet, and of course, no shade because I love it and respect it. But I'm like, where the hell I missed the train that told me that we were all about to do this. So once that happened, I trained with Mel for a while. I joined scholarship at Culture Shock because I had a friend, Justin White, who is also, you know, Culture Shock alumni.
I remember Justin, yes.
Yeah, he was like, we should do scholarship. So we did that, and it kind of just spiraled. From that, I went to taking class like more often. I think like I would take beginning only. Like for a long time, I would take cardio in beginning because I was too scared to take anything else. And it's funny that Tracy's in here, but she was my first like non-beginning class that I took. Wow. And I was like thinking, you know, she was so cool. I was like, okay, look at this white girl. She's popping off. Like, you know, she had the bun and like the baggy clothes, and she had all her swag. And I was like, okay. And I would just take that class consistently. And then I remember I stepped my first foot in like Keone's class, and I was like, oh shit, I had no idea what I even like got myself into at the time. But it wasn't until 2010 that Angie, you know, saw me in the lobby one day and was like, hey, like, you know, she corners people. Hey. She's like, are you auditioning for Culture Shock? And I was like, no.
Yeah, she does that.
You know, I was like, no, I had no, I didn't know. She's like, you should do it. Now, like the funniest thing about this is, girl, I auditioned, did make it, just gonna start there.
Hey, and I remember all the good ones, that's what happens to us, all the good ones.
I remember thinking, because, you know, I'm all brand new and shit, I'm like, no, she didn't tell me to come to the audition and then make it. But, you know, at the time, I was like, you know what? Okay, whatever. Fuck it. Like, I still stayed on scholarship. And I was like, I'm going to just audition for the next season. And I think that they had just started doing, like, the quarters. So they were doing 2 seasons in 1 year. So I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, I got a couple months. You know, I'm going to figure it out. The second time I auditioned, then I finally made it.
Who taught the piece?
Huh?
Who taught the audition piece?
God, it was a whole bunch of people. It was Loveland, Alfredo, Sherman, Jeremy, B-Boy Germs, and I think David Henry. It was a whole like group of people. And I remember I was all over the floor. I had never done breaking or anything before. Okay, so I remember I was all over the floor, sliding and jumping. Like, what is? I remember thinking like, what is going on here? But I was like all nervous, but you know, I made it, and I mean, I was, you know, a strong, like back, maybe second row, but back for like a while. But I learned a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
became
Well, what did you
captain.
think? What did you think when Angie first asked you, "Hey, come audition," and you like set up in the space and everything?
Well, I didn't even know. I was like, for what? Like, I don't know anything about any of this. Like, you know, I'd only been on scholarship. I think that was probably my second year. And I was kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love everything that's going on up in here. But like, I'm not ready for that shit. I've seen the videos. I'm not ready. Like, I'm not ready. And I would like, you know, I would take class with people who were on culture shock. And I remember like, oh God, like, nope. So I was like, why? And I kind of sat on it. And it wasn't until Justin was like, girl, just go. Just go, just go, just go. And I'm like, okay. And he had already made it the year prior to me. So I was like, okay. And then I went. I thought it was crazy, but you know, I knew that it was I had heard about the place. I kind of felt like, okay, you know what? You've literally been hearing about it. You've been saying you want to go every couple months. You meet somebody else who's been there. You're now in college. Like you've met so many other people who dance there. I just kind of felt like you just need to go. Like something is saying like it's just throwing this place at you. So just go. And I think like once I finally got there, like it was it was a completely new experience, but it was different. I remember Angie used to say, or I'm sure she still does, but like that place in general, or the team, the organization itself, you know, is like church for some people. Like it's their sanctuary, and I definitely agree with that. You know, I danced, you know, all throughout middle school and high school and stuff, but it wasn't until like joining actually the team that I felt like, dang, these are my people. Like these are people, you know, you hung out with, you danced with, you loved on, you fought with, you went, you have to find costumes together, you were mad about at your director together, you were happy about shit that was going on together. Like it just became, it kind of just changed everything for me.
Yeah.
And like I can pretty much, like everyone that I'm like the closest to, besides a couple few like people and of course family, are like the closest friends I met there. And
Yeah.
on that team in general, like those are the people I still rock with. And I mean, it's hilarious to connect and like still talk about shit that happened like
Yeah.
10 years ago and we laugh about it, or like, you know, shit comes full circle where like, you know, I direct now and I used to think the shit Sherman did was crazy. Like, well, I used to think he was out of his mind, and now I'm like, yeah, I
That's
want to
why.
too. Like, I really want to. I want to throw a
Mhm.
clipboard too. I get it. Like, you know, like things like.
What's the most challenging thing for you when you started to like direct?
Oh my God, I think it was just trying to kind of balance all of the different personalities. I think, and I was just talking about Sherman, but when I was captain um, on Culture Shock before I started directing, he told me like, well, one thing, he's like, you're gonna lose friends. That might be a thing. Like that could happen because
Mm.
people are just not gonna get like you got a job to do and but you still gotta, you know. So I was like, okay. But other than that, he was like, everyone's different. Like the way I can yell at some of these people, I can't yell at some of these kids like that because they're not gonna like. So I think coming in and there's like, you know, 35 bodies and oh my God, and they're teenagers, okay, and you know, hormones and life, and you know, the world is so hard at 15. I remember it was that. I think it was just balancing because I felt like it was important to connect regardless, even if they're not the best kid in the room or if they are the best kid. Just, you know, just figuring out who they are individually plays a huge part on what we do collectively.
Yeah, and I remember I would pop in sometimes in your rehearsal and you had the kids with the attitudes. I
Oh,
remember. But they would listen to you though. They would listen to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know that, and I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's so funny. I think that like it's. I don't think it's a talent, but I think that I kind of do somewhat have a way with teenagers. I couldn't tell you what that is, but I also think just getting to know them really did help. So like I tried to do like they would come in, you know, have attitudes, and I'd be like, "What's wrong with you today? Like, come over here and talk to me. Like, what is wrong with you today?" And then and then it all comes out like, "Well, you know, like my cat died yesterday," and I'm like, "Okay, all right, sit down, girl. Like, go drink some water. Like, if you need me, let me know." I'm like, "But you can't be walking up in here. Leave that at the like, you know." I feel like I just tried to connect and still kind of keep my message clear. Um, so
Moana,
somehow I
Moana
don't know.
says Moana says she's scary. That's why they know better.
No, you know what? I'm like, okay, no, I don't. I am not scary. First of all them kids is bigger than me now. I'm like, this is not scary when you have to do like this.
Hmm.
Okay.
Did you choose to be a director, or did somebody
Oh my
say,
God.
"Oh,
Okay.
Simone, you're gonna
So
do
like,
it"?
no, yes, but no.
Hmm.
It's another Angie thing.
Oh.
Yes, they needed directors for Future Shock, and Sherman. They had already called on Sherman to head direct, and I think Elaine was going to stay on to volunteer, but he had got a new job, so they needed an assistant director. And again, I'm in the lobby, and she like, you know, leans over the counter, and she's like, "So I was thinking you should, you know, audition or you should direct." And I'm like, "What again?" And but at, you know, at the time, especially, like she played such a pivotal part in my life that I feel like I couldn't say no. So I was like, okay, so Sherman, and he had already directed me, so I was already comfortable with him. So I'm like, okay, yes, oh my God, yes, fine. So I just said okay, and you know what? At the time too, I think that was when Culture Shock had started to, like, a lot of the people that had been there for a long time, they left.
Mm.
For whatever reason, it didn't matter, but they just weren't there anymore. And I was so in love with being on Culture Shock at the time. I was like, well, this is perfect because now we can get there and I'm still Captain Uncle. We can feed, you know, into the program. Like we can get people excited again to want to, you know, join the adult team and not just stop at the junior. So I don't know. I was literally thrown in again to God knows fucking what, really. I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, what? I mean, it did help that I was just assistant, so I could kind of watch a little more. But girl, no, I had no idea what was happening, what was going to happen, what I was doing. I never even planned on being a director ever in my life. It's kind of
Wow.
funny that that's where I've like ended up, but I never
Yeah.
would have thought 15, 10, even 10 years ago that this is what I would have been doing.
Yeah. The Future Shock really, really trusted you. And I mean, they were good. That you blew that team up. You and Davin did such a good job. And even before Davin, Sherman was there too. Like the kids were really good. Hmm.
Yeah, they well, I mean, I always thought they were good, you know, and I started late, so I already had like a different like respect for like teenagers at the time because I'm like I just got here kind of like, you know, and they've been on Mini Shock, Mighty Shock, Future Shock, and I'm like, shit, here I come in talking, trying to tell them what to do, and they've been doing hip hop longer than me. But you know, I think it was just sometimes at some point it just became about pulling it out of them. I feel like we
Mm.
just did everything we could to just like give them no other choice but
Hmm.
to like give it everything they had. So I think that just it just kind of started a spark and it became infectious. Once like a couple of the kids kind of got in that mindset, the rest just kind of followed.
Yeah.
So it was
They're
great.
amazing, amazing job. And plus, you became a mom in the middle of it.
Oh yeah.
How did you do that? I,
Girl, honestly, I mean, when I think about it now, I must have lost my mind because I, I mean, okay, I got pregnant and I was still directing, and I literally danced. I think, like I was working at Torrey Pines High School as well. I think I danced like up until the day before my due date because I at the time she wouldn't seem like she was ready to go. So I was like, okay. Like, and I'm like, we were getting ready. I can't think it was for bridge. And I remember the kids were doing like kip ups or something. And I literally, like, girl, 8 months pregnant, was like, that's not it. Like, tried to get down and did one. And all the kids screamed. They're like, you're going to go into labor, like all
Oh my
crazy. And
God.
I'm like, yeah, but y'all ain't doing it right. So if I got to get down here, somebody better catch if she comes.
Oh my God.
But that, and then like, I know she came, and I think we had bridge like 3 weeks after Marley was born, and we were there. I think there's a photo of me like on a laptop with the stroller, and I regret that every day. I should have stayed at home because I was not in the best condition to be walking around for that many hours. But the balance, I think in the beginning was really like, it was new. It was a struggle. I mean, I was working a lot, and I mean, I had her dad, I had Freddie. It wasn't like he wasn't around. It was both of us, and he still worked. He's a dance teacher too, and I was working, and it was just like I would literally go to work, but as soon as I came home, it was like Freddie was there for 2 hours because he had her in the morning, and then he would go to work, and then I'm on duty. And then, like, imagine on top of that, then at night, I'm like trying to put her to bed, and then I'm trying to mix music because then I have to worry about like Future Shock, and then it's like culture, and then I was dancing on the most.
Wow.
Honestly, it's a lot, but I think just wanting to do it and feeling like I've seen moms do it. I've seen them do it. Was like I have to keep going, and the fact that I had just started directing, and that was my new like found love. It was like, okay, I just got started. I'm not going to quit right now just because. So Marley was going to competitions with me. Like, she would sleep through competitions because like the noise, like, and it didn't matter. She'd be because she was so used to it. She was at competitions. She was at rehearsals for World of Dance, like late at night. Like she comes even to this day, like she's around it. That's probably why she's always like trying to make up a TikTok that she doesn't have. But it it's something. Like, I mean, I never really, of course you don't know until you get in it, but I'm like, shout out to all the moms who figure it out because it's work. It's
Yeah.
it's another full-time job. So
Yeah.
to
A lot of
balance all,
hearts,
oh
a
God, I
lot of
must have
hearts coming up
lost
for you. Um, so yeah, so that's another thing I was gonna ask, so you already had Marley, your first team, and you're balancing this. Like, what what was it for you? What was the reason? What did you love about directing so much that you continued to do it and got up out of the hospital to a competition?
time. I think, to be quite honest, there's a couple things that played into it. I mean, one, it's my job, and I'm like, a little not OCD, but like if I got a job, I need to get it done because otherwise, that's just how I got to do it. It was the fact that, I think, well, actually, I'm just going to say this. The biggest reason was probably the kids.
Mm,
At that point, I had just developed a relationship with them and the families and everything that we had been through, whether it was like having 15 kids on the team to getting it back to 37 to losing every competition we went to, but kids still showing up for me. I felt like I needed to show up for them.
mm,
And so I think even still to this day, like that's just what motivates me and it keeps me going because things don't always go the way we want. Life is hard, things are crazy, but they showed up.
yeah.
And even when we started Supremacy, we didn't know what was going to happen. We just posted a flyer and people showed up. And I always say, like, I'm forever grateful for people who show up for me.
Mm,
Um, and when they do that, I feel like it's my job. I got to give that back. And that's what I tell them kids too. Like, that's what we expect out of y'all. Like, when we come in here and I'm like giving you everything I got, I need that right back. Like, it's a relationship. And I feel like just building all of those like individual relationships over time is just, it's literally kept me going.
that's amazing. And Ray Ray's in here. She says she loves you. Audrey also says you also always showed up for them too. And also Brittany is sending
Hey,
out
girl.
hearts. Yeah. So awesome. Yeah, you just have a commitment to the group, to the kids. And it sounds like they're down for you too, 100. So that's amazing. And then supremacy. So I guess talk about your journey from going from future shock to supremacy. Yeah. What what got it, or what gave you the idea? How did that start?
Well, we had just left. I had just, well, I don't know, about a year prior to that, I quit dancing on Culture Shock, the team. It became a lot, and living in Oceanside and driving back down to San Diego, it just became a lot. I continued to direct, and then when I stopped doing that there, I just remember we did HHI, um, and that was it. It was all said and done, and I remember getting like back home, like feeling uh, I don't know how to explain, but just feeling like I had to do something because there was a lot of there's a lot of things going on at Culture Shock at the time, and a lot of kids were not feeling like, they wanted to dance there because they wanted to be wherever I was, or they wanted to be. At the time, Sherman had left too, and they wanted to be wherever. And then Davin was gone, and they wanted to be wherever Davin was, and it almost felt like I left them.
Oh,
And even though I knew, like, I had always had my own thoughts and dreams and about what I wanted to do, um, it just felt like, even though I did what I had to do for myself, it felt like I left them. And I literally text Davin, and I was like, hey, and he's like, what's up? And I'm like, I think we need to start a team. And he's like, what? And I'm like, no, I just, where are they going to go? Like, and some of these kids, I'm like, either they've been dancing forever or they just got here and they love it so much, like and they feel like they have nowhere to go. So I think we have to start a team. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. So we literally just picked out a day. And I mean, mind you, I had worked at Torrey Pines, or I, directed Future Shock, but never had we, just completely did something on our own, specifically start a whole team. So we just made a flyer. We found somewhere to rehearse, and then just was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I think we ended up having 40 people audition, and honestly, that might be too much. Let me not lie to you. It might have been like 35. Okay, I don't even know. 40 might be a lot. Okay, and I remember thinking and if this is not what we want it to be, like, this might have been a mistake, but we'll see how it goes. And we ended up taking, I think, about 27. And some of the kids that had joined were familiar faces. Some of them weren't. And a part of me, I remember I texted Angie like the next day, feeling just a little crazy, because I was like, look, I do want to put it out there. Yes, I posted a flyer. Yes, I have moved on. Yes, X, Y, and Z, but I would never, put myself in a position where I would be like telling kids in your building, like, you need to, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want it to seem shady, but because the familiar faces that were there came from that building, I instantly was like, oh my God, this is gonna look so fucking bad. So I remember going back and texting, and of course Angie, she doesn't even care. It's like, I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, so we're all good and everybody's all right, and let's just see how this goes. And it somehow worked out. I think the first competition we did was World Dance San Diego, and it was like a mess, because a lot of people had registered and then had dropped out for whatever reason. So basically all the teams competed in one division, from the littles to the juniors to the adults.
wow.
And of course, and then on top of that, I was dancing with the most at the time, so I was competing with the most at World. And then that
How
happens,
are you doing
and
that?
I'm like, wait, so I have to compete against my own team? I was like, oh, this is not okay. That, and I did, and I remember going back to the kids, like, guys, I don't want, I'm not gonna dance. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm on a team, I got a job to do. I'm not gonna like break my leg on stage just so you guys can win. I'm like, but if you're competing against adults, you better bring it. If you want to walk away with the trophy, you better bring it. And I'm like, you know what? Because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's about what we do. It's not about what age we are. So I was like, that's what it's going to be. And the most got second and the kids won. And I was just excited that, like, even in general, both teams like walked away feeling good. And I didn't know what was going to happen because I actually thought the adult teams were going to just swap, because you know how that is, and some of the kids are just so tiny. They just look like little munchkins. I'm like, well, when you have, a 6-foot dude who looks like or dances like Jonathan Cison or Darky, like how I just, I didn't know how it was going to go. And I just remember hearing that we won first place, and I didn't even make it out to the front. I bawled. I was like bawling, like literally crying. And I at the moment I was like, what am I even crying for? Like, I mean, yes, we won, but like, calm down. Like, it's not that, but at the moment, I think it was just a moment of relief. Like things at my original home, my dance home, they weren't going the way that I thought they should, or I felt like it was a time for me to move on. And that was scary to me because that was the place that I knew. That was the place that I feel like gave me everything to start with. It gave me my foundation for everything that I still continue to do now. So it was scary, at the time. And I think not knowing what was going to happen next, and oh my God, my watch, sorry.
Okay.
Like, what? It was just, I didn't know what was going to happen. And to see some of the kids who didn't, they came from another team. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about where, but they were already feeling so neglected, so hurt from so many other things. And I think we all just needed that.
A win. Yeah.
We needed that win. We just needed that win so bad, not because we needed the trophy, but we needed it for our hearts, for our souls, and for everything we had put into the last year of ups and downs and left and rights and not even fucking knowing which way things were going to go. And that, like I said earlier, I remember that specific moment told me I was exactly where I needed to be.
Nice.
And I just was like, because this is, they want it, I want it, they want it. So we got some work to do. It doesn't matter about how much we win, but just, I think the love and I'm trying to find the right word for it. I don't know. I guess like the feeling of like a rebirth, just played such a huge part in everything that even the kids put into the set. And I mean, I kid you not, the set was not like some fantastic thing. We didn't have a theme or props or nothing. It wasn't like that. But even to this day, like, I watch that video and I'm like, I can still see it. Like, I can feel it through the TV when I watch it. They wanted it. And they wanted it because they needed it. They needed it so bad. And I felt like we helped create something for them that felt like home again. And that made me feel like, again, like, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly what I should be doing. And I think from that moment on, I've never quit. I've never quit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll be having days. And when you deal with kids, you deal with parents, and sometimes, but it's always about them, 100%. And I think that just continues to drive me consistently.
Props. It sounds like you felt really called, and this huge success that came after such kind of like a heartbreaking, like, rip away from so many things. And once you guys had that moment where you won, it kind of cemented that team, right?
Yeah.
And cemented that you're supposed to be there. And coming from someone at 3 years old who didn't even like dance, right? And now you're like directing, you have your own, like, this is your work, this is your career, right? Did you ever think that this is going to be your career?
No, I mean, as crazy as it may sound, like first of all, when I was a child, I was like into like water and shit. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And I was like 5, I was like, I'm gonna work at SeaWorld. That was like my dream, okay? And then from then I was like, okay, I got older and realized that okay, that's great, but that probably, you should probably think a little more past that. So I wanted to go into marine biology. So I kind of switched it up. I always liked science, and then my whole like I love dolphins and like whales, that whole thing. And then by the time I got to college, completely switched it up
Yeah.
and thought I was getting my psychology degree. But that was a want of I was around a lot of people later on in high school that I went through a lot of like mental health things, and I just felt like I don't know who I think I am, but at the time I just felt like I wish I could be better at helping out people close to me, like having the right thing to say. So I was like, I'm gonna do psychology. And then once I got to Grossmont and started dancing, and then I got to culture shock,
It's over.
bye,
Yeah.
gone. It all left. It all left. And you know
Yeah.
what? The craziest thing is like I have a feeling I may go back to school one day just to get through it, because I did it for 3 years. I could have just held out for one more year. It didn't work out that way, but
Yeah.
I'm
But
I feel like this is what I should have done.
exactly.
I mean, I no matter how, I have shitty days, and back in the day, whoo, when I was young and like not knowing if he was going to like have a class, not teach a class, whether he's going to get paid or not, like all the stress is so worth it. Not unfortunately, but like it's not always rainbows and sunshines.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
so
Agreed.
I never thought I would be here, but I can't even see myself at this point doing really anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, same. And now let's kind of move forward a little bit in the timeline. Now we're stuck in this like pandemic, right? And everything kind of kicked off this past year, right? I saw you in so many Zooms. I saw you in so many meetings, right? Um, and we even talked about maybe potentially if you were to do a hip hop dance event of your own, we were talking about the comps kind of making a turn kind of a thing. Have you given any thought to that?
Oh man. I mean, honestly, I have. It's well, for one, just all of the like the state guidelines and like how you can do things is just made it's not impossible, but it's like it'll
I
either
know.
have to be something we all literally like adapt to, like something completely new, or we can't do it right now. you
Yeah.
know? Because I mean, yeah, I remember it's one of the Zoom, I can't remember which Zoom it was, but we were talking about that, and I was like, I would love to. I mean, I still do want to. I talk about it all the time. I was just driving past an outdoor venue the other day, and I was like, this could be perfect. But I'm also like, I don't even know if it's a thing right now, because we can't even get people together, and then like people want to be in front of a crowd and can't sit people next to each other. It's like, how do you even go about that? And it's like, some studio comps or like conventions are running, they're just either virtually doing it, which especially for our genre of world, like we feed off the energy,
Each
so
other.
that's
Yeah.
you know or they're doing like where they do it in shifts. So like each studio will come in and do all their numbers, and then they leave, and then the next studio. But again, then it's still like you just miss that, like that performance quality, and having people in the crowd, and like people to like dance for and vibe with, and give them a show. It's like, so I don't know. I still definitely do think there is a need, and actually, no, I'll say a need. I was going to say maybe strong. I'll go ahead and say a need for um, some sort of hip hop competition. And I mean, but I mean, I guess not everybody does know because they weren't all in the Zooms. But you know, all these other, I mean, it's not like anything's wrong necessarily with any of these other competitions. I just think there's, and I mean, I can definitely say I am for sure speaking on like what supremacy does and our style specifically, but just in general, just like just wanting that hip hop like vibe, like, you know what I mean? And I mean, as far like I love that we have, of course, like battles and stuff at all these competitions. So I think that that kind of helps bring some like of the rawness back to like aspect to it. But shit, dance has like evolved 19 times since all these competitions has been around. And I think one of the key points that Arnell did say was like, you know, back then when it all started down, like that's what we were all doing.
Yeah.
So it didn't need to be called anything specific because everybody doing the same thing for the most part, you know? And I just think dance has evolved and it's growing in all different kinds of ways, as is just hip hop, I guess, in general. Music too, you know, everything just keeps evolving. And I mean, I personally, like, regardless of my own style or what I like to do, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that I know that there's still people out here that kind of are wanting that, you know,
That vibe. Yeah, for sure.
that vibe back,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
So I just think, I think because it's everybody's wanting it, it's just, it's time to do it. And I
Yeah.
don't think that means the other competitions need to go. I think, because I mean, I'm still, we would still go to those. I mean, you know, it is what it is, but I just think there's a need for it. I miss it. I wish, well, I don't have time to be rehearsing and dancing no more, but I kind of like back when I was like on the tail end of culture shock, I remember thinking like, dang, I wish like it was still like this, or I wish
Yeah.
it was still like everything I saw before I even like got on culture shock, because I'm sure it was different then too. I know it's all like, you know, progressively changing, and I'm sure about 15 years ago somebody else somewhere was saying like, I don't know what these kids are doing now, like they think they doing something, they ain't,
Yeah.
that ain't it. Like, I'm sure that's happened plenty of times, but I really do want to. It's just being in this pandemic has just affected, I mean,
Our way to get together. Yeah. Hmm.
God, like
Hmm.
everything. And it's
Hmm.
like from what I know, everyone wants to be together again. Everyone wants to dance together again. Everybody wants to like, oh, just get in class. But it's like, one, we
Yeah.
try to be safe, and then two, we just can't right now.
Yeah.
So
The
just
rules
the
kind of
thought of
keep
you,
changing too. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm like, we could plan, but what? It just keeps changing. Like, you know, we were just quote unquote doing better, and then look at us, boop, back on curfew. I'm
Yep.
like, okay. So I feel like it's really put a lot of things on hold for
Yeah.
everyone, you know, like there's not much we can do but kind of wait this out in the
Yeah.
best.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. And when this, I don't know if it's going to be vaccines that's going to help or things go down, cases, resolve or what, I don't know. But when it's time, you already know you have my support, and everybody all in here that wants to do or see a hip hop show happen will be there. Totally. Yeah. And what are you guys doing now? Like, are you doing anything new, like Supremacy, or are you guys on break
Um,
or?
no, I mean, we've been dancing since, you know, well, we were dancing, and then once the pandemic hit, we moved straight to Zoom. And then when things opened up again, we started rehearsing, but we rehearse outdoors now.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
you know, we do have a couple families and kids who we knew, like, if we don't rehearse outside, they ain't coming. And we just thought the fresh air, you know, everything, it's just a little, might seem a little safer. So honestly, we've just been training, and we've, you know, had different people come down from up north or even just locally come in and teach. Like Moana's came, and
Oh, nice.
Jonathan, and we had Ruthie come down. She
Nice.
loves to come down and teach the kids. House is always interesting with grass, but you know, um, we've just been trying to keep them moving. Ultimately, I can't say. I mean, some of our kids are literally have taken a break because they're like, okay, well, shoot, we've been dancing Saturday and Sunday for like 9 years, and they ain't never had a break. So they feel, you know, they feel like if there was any time to take one, you know, it would be now. And I'm grateful that we even still have some kids who like want to move. And I think that that's the best thing about this season has been just seeing some kids, they're like, they just dancing. They going full out in the middle of the park. It don't matter. Homeboys jogging by with 2 dogs. Craziness is going on. Cars driving by honking. You know, crazy people walking by talking to them. Like, it's just a whole thing. But they're, you know, just the want to like keep moving. Um, has kind of been something like special to watch, because it just means like, I mean, no matter what's going on, they want to dance. And it meant that they weren't going to let anything stop them. But we're not getting ready for anything. We're doing like a couple videos, you know.
Yeah.
You know, other
Makes
than
sense.
that, girl,
Yeah.
no. Train.
And then,
That's it.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you too. So, definitely as the leader, right? I know you're doing some kind of self-care. What are you doing to kind of stay sane?
Oh God. Honestly, the only thing that I feel like that I've been doing that I feel like has been taking care of me is taking dance class. When it reopened, as
Yeah.
crazy, you know what I mean? Like, you get stuck around dance all day, and like the only thing that's gonna fix this is me going to take a class. Because of course it's different, you know. Like, no, that's not it. Again, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then like just being a student, just being able to dance. I think being able to dance has kind of been a good thing. Like, as soon when Studio Effects opened, I was taking a lot of class outside. I mean, it felt weird, but I was like, I need to move.
Yeah.
I need to move. I need to be around people. I need to like do something. Other than that, traveling. As crazy as it sounds, I mean, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, I swear I've traveled the most in 2020 than I have like
Where
ever.
you going, girl?
Girl, out everywhere, anywhere I could go that kind of seemed a little safer than where I'm at. I mean, I've been to like up and down California, like up north a lot, and Palm Springs. I went to Mexico earlier in the year. I've been to Texas. I just, well, to visit my mom, but I feel like even staycationing. And I have Marley. She's 4. She's always during the summer when it was so hot and there was nothing to do. We would like go to a hotel and like stay there for a weekend and like lay around in robes and eat pizza and like
Aw.
swim all day. Just something that made me feel like I was kind of escaping a little bit, like the reality of the craziness around us. Um, but other than that, that's it. I mean, I occasionally I get to see I see Davin and Tony, like, my people, my boyfriend, all that. Like that helps a lot.
Nice.
Because I have the same, I mean, it's the same 5 faces, but I mean, it's great to see somebody,
Yeah.
you know. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like just dance and travel. I just feel like, and I think I've always liked to get out and do stuff, but I think it's honestly me running from the pandemic, really. Like, to be quite honest, it's just I need to see something new. I need to be outdoors. I need to, refresh. It's been wild just being in house and doing the same thing every
Yeah.
day. It's like, yeah, I never thought it would really affect me this much, but I for sure at some point was like, yeah, no, I'm about to just like walk outside and just stand, because at this point I need to get outside. I don't care if it's just my neighbors. I'm like, hey y'all, hey, they never talked to them before, but now we talking, because like we're all in this together at this point.
Yeah. And I see Mama Jen in here and Dre. If you guys also agree with Simone, what are you doing right now? Leave a comment. What are you doing to stay sane? Um, yeah, so I'm wondering too, is rehearsal any different, or how are the kids? You said the kids are still going full out, but for you, what do you
Yeah.
notice now? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, they are going full out, but it's still slightly different. And I've noticed the difference between when we've been outdoors rehearsing and when we've been in a studio. Because some days we've switched depending on different things we're doing. Um, it definitely feels different when we're in the studio. I feel like they push harder in the studio. I think, again, of course, because the obvious reasons like the distractions, but just that's what they're used to. They're used to being in the room. That's what it naturally just happens. It's not that we're harder on them that day. It's not that anything big changed. I just think being in that setting kind of makes them work a little harder. But ultimately, it hasn't been a real struggle, but you can tell. There's some kids who, like, it's almost like they're on autopilot.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like they're there and they're dancing because that's what they're good at. That's what they know. But you can tell that some of them have kind of not checked out, but it's just like, I'm doing this because this is what I know. And I can't do anything else right now. And this is probably what makes them feel good. But it's just different, you know? And I think not having anything to get necessarily ready for plays a
Yeah.
part in that, you know? No comps, not even a show, nothing, you know? Nothing. So I think that they're struggling just as much as the rest of us, if not, dare I say it, a little more, just because I feel like, you know, some of them didn't get their senior years, they didn't get to graduate, or just
Yeah.
things are just so different. Nothing is going as planned. And I feel like as adults, we work on well, we should be, I think we try to work on our emotions and how to deal with things a little better. And I feel like for them, it's just like they're in shock. And it's like,
Mm.
what do we even do? So I don't know. It's obvious that they're in a different mind
Like
frame.
space. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's obvious, like, but it's like they know they need to keep going, so they just
Mhm.
do.
Yeah. And
um
speaking of that too, like this past week, I was just saying it before he got on. Angie gave the news that Coach Shock was closing, and you've seen all these stories. People didn't see it coming. It was really, really sad to watch people's comments. Just gonna ask you, what were some of your thoughts?
um like, I don't even know where to begin with that. Like, I was like, still, like, I think I haven't even like posted yet like
Mm.
an official, like, just because, I mean, if you know anything about, not that anyone should, like, I'm important, but if anyone knows anything about like my history with the building and even everything that I've shared today, that was like the minimum. Like, it was the minimum. And like I said earlier, it definitely is the foundation for everything that I've done so far, just because of whether it's the relationships that I built there, whether it was the kids who are now with me, who people are like, oh, they're so good. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't. They weren't always, but that they came, just, I mean, I met Marley's dad at Culture Shock. Like, with that, like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
have Davin, just, it's so much. I don't even know how to say what it is to me. It's a lot. And I mean, I don't work there anymore, and I taught there, and I mean, I still take class there. I walk in, hey y'all, like, but I just didn't. I think I just never thought it would actually close, or I
Same.
never really thought about what it would mean to me if it did. Of course, over the years, a few years back, I remember we were like on the bridge and we announced it. God, is it the anniversary? I think one of the anniversary shows, at one of the big showcases, and I remember there was a big donation, and it was great. And then I know what studios started doing well, and they got the second floor, and things have been going, and I just think I just never thought it would actually close. And at first, I was just kind of like, oh, that's sad. But then, like, as the day went on, it just got worse. Like, the second day in, it was like 7 a.m. I was just up for no reason. And I was like, it's not funny. But I was on my phone and I was talking to my best friend, Kaylee, and I was texting because she was sending me videos like, girl, look at this. Blah, blah. And I was like, 7 a.m. and I was like, I'm crying right now. Just watching everything. She was like, girl, I cried all night long. And I'm like, it's just because when you think about everything, like, in what everything that came from there, everything that I can relate to that place and what it means to me now, or where it's gotten me, it's just, I still I can't even put it into words.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. I have memories of you of being in your cardio class
Oh my
when
God.
I think you were assisting Angie for the first few times.
Hmm.
And I also have memories of you being Rat Queen, you know, for the
Oh
Nutcracker. Yeah,
God. Yeah.
yeah,
Girl, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that just the building itself or just being there, it's like all the teams, all the projects, all the people, all the friends, all the connections, you know. I think I just associate it so much with the building, and I understand, of course, that you know it's not necessarily the end. You know, as they've said, they would like to continue to move forward with the org, and I know that one day, you know, when all this crazy shit is over, then you know there might be another studio. It might, but I mean that one's just been there for 17 years. Like you think about all the YouTube videos, you think about before the like the walls have been like three different colors or like
hmm
two different colors, and then at some point there was no graffiti. Like you know, there used to be a couch in the green room that ain't there
hmm
no more. Like
hmm
I still be up in the green room like like it's 2010, like I belong in there, and I
hmm
don't. But you know, again, it was home. It really changed my entire life. I can
Yeah,
say that for sure. And at first I was just like it if it feels like this for me, I can only imagine what it feels like for the people who even came before me. The people who, you know what I mean? And I was explaining my boyfriend, he's not, oh, he was on here too. It's funny. Who's not a dancer. I'm like, you don't even know. I have to like put it in like normal people terms, like the Jabberwockies used to be there. You know, if you don't know nothing else, you know the Jabberwockies. So
hmm
I like be throwing that at him. Like the Jabberwockies used to like they were here. Like, and you think about that, or I'm like, remember that video I showed you? I was like, it's like Keone and Mario. I'm like, I told you like who they are. I'm like, they were here, like they were there long before they were like. And I said like for me to even like just think about the history that was even created long before I was there. It's a lot, you know. And seeing all the posts and all the pictures, it's like you don't forget, but it's like it was so much that first day. I like couldn't even with my phone because I was like it was a lot for so many people, so many teams, just people who didn't dance, people who do dance, people who just think it's fun to take cardio and just like, you know, like
hmm
it's
hmm
just it was everything for so many people. And I know that they did everything they could have over the last few years to keep it going. Like, you
hmm
know, if you know, you know. So
Yeah. And
they
we just
tried.
have a few more minutes, Simone, but I just want to acknowledge that you are part of that history. You know, you really also are the person to have continued the tradition. You've shaped young dancers, really dope young dancers. You've become a leader in your own right, you know, amazing teacher. So you're part of that history. So very, very proud of you and where
Well,
you've come.
like that
Hmm
means a lot coming from you, you know. And I
hmm
always feel like not that I have a lot to prove, but I forever feel like I'm consistently working because I know like I joined late like in this like realm. Well, in my eyes, you know, I was 18 and now the people that I know, they're like, "Oh, I've been doing this. I was on Mighty Shock." I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, I wasn't doing no hip hop then." And it just felt like I had to catch up. I just needed to get on everybody else's level. So sometimes it is surreal for me to like sit here and just be like, I can't even believe I'm like directing people and they listen to me. They listen to me and they do what they do what I say and they trust that but I also feel like I had so many people to like look up to, and even the moments I didn't understand then about not being casted or blocked or why I had to take this class or the importance of knowing my hip hop history or why I needed to take that popping class or why I needed, you know, it just, I had so many people to look at and examples to watch. And I mean, like, you guys all produced so many like great sets, dancers, numbers, even the way you guys just yelled at people and the some, I mean, you know how it was back then, the things these y'all would say, and they still came back. You know what I mean? Like that spoke a lot of volumes to me. So I mean, I think you as well. I mean, without like all this, I mean, you're definitely a pioneer. I'm just here along for the ride. So it means a lot coming from you.
Aw. Well, I'm just glad that we got to connect. You are still healthy, you're alive, girl. And hopefully, when things calm down, we'll get together and be in a dance event somewhere. Yeah.
Something, girl,
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So stay healthy and hopefully I see you soon, okay?
All right, you too, Anna. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. And then I'll post this on both my Instagram and then I'll post it on YouTube and tag you also. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, girl.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Oh, wait. You guys are so... Hey, if I close this, will it erase? Do you guys know? I think I'm just gonna wait for it to count down. Thanks for being in here, Kyle, Tracy. Tracy, I need to do Boba Talk with you too.